this is actually a weird one to talk about because in Once Upon a Time there are two Cinderellas, one between season 1 and 6 and the other being a main player in season 7. However, for this one, I am going to be focusing on the Cinderella that became a resident of Storybrooke in season 1. As always, Cinderella is a servant in her own house for her stepmother, Lady Tremaine, and her stepsisters, who in this version are called Clorinda and Tisbe. The Cinderella in season 6, they're called Anastasia and Drizella. Cinderella still constantly dreams of happiness, which is enlightened by the sight of fireworks coming from the palace. Instead of all the mice she befriends from the movie, we only have Gus, but still loves getting his hands on any cheese he finds. As par for the course, the household gets an invitation to a royal ball to find a suitable wife for the prince. Cinderella tries to ask if she could go, but of course, her stepmother refuses. They tell her that she has nothing to wear, in which Cinderella brings out her mother's pink dress. Unfortunately, her stepmother snatches the dress from her, gives it to Clorinda, and she throws it in the furnace. Crying over the destroyed dress, Cinderella is comforted by Gus as she discovers a key in one of the pockets. She remembers that her mother said the key had magical powers. When you turn the key in any door, it becomes a portal to the land of untold stories. Believing that magic is nonsense, she puts it away in a box. It is now the night of the ball, and Cinderella is left doing her chores in the courtyard until, who of course shows up? Her fairy godmother. But before she can properly introduce herself, she gets killed by Rumpelstiltskin. He makes a deal with Cinderella that he can change her life forever. In exchange, he will take something precious of hers in the future. Desperate to free Cinderella, signs the contract, and Rumpel turns her rags into a beautiful gown with glass slippers to attend the ball. She is escorted by Gus, who has been transformed into a footman. However, she spends most of the time trying to avoid her stepfamily. She ends up running into Snow White, and she convinces her to talk with the prince. She does, of course, dance with him, but doesn't reveal her name, and so she refers to her as the girl with the glass slippers. As they take a breather from dancing, Cinderella is confronted by her stepmother, who recognizes her immediately, and tells her that the prince is just toying with her. This isn't helped when she sees the prince offering a rose to her stepsister Clorinda. Heartbroken, Cinderella runs away from the ball, leaving her glass slipper behind. Back home, with everything back to how it was before, Gus reminds her of her mother's key, and so she tries it out on her wardrobe, in which it works. Cinderella believes this could be her way of starting a new life, forgetting about her stepfamily and the prince, but before she walks through, Clorinda pulls her back. She tells her that the rose was actually from one of the prince's footmen named Jacob, and that the prince really loves her. Cinderella then offers the key to her stepsister so she and Jacob can be together. When Clorinda goes to meet up with Jacob, Lady Tremaine confronts Cinderella and threatens to tell her where her daughter has gone. Cinderella keeps her mouth closed, but her stepmother reveals that she has the glass slipper and will break it if nothing is said. Knowing the slipper is the only way she can prove to the prince who she is, Cinderella gives in. Unfortunately, Tremaine breaks the slipper anyway and locks her in the attic. Cinderella bangs on the window, constantly crying for help. And that, by the way, is more than what the 2015 version did. Just saying. As she is doing this, Gus slips through the door, down the stairs and into the courtyard, where the prince and Snow White is. Snow White notices the mouse in little maid clothes, and he tries to communicate that the girl with the glass slipper is locked up in the attic. The prince rushes up and proposes to Cinderella. While she accepts, she tries to go after her stepmother to save her stepsister. Clorinda is waiting for Jacob with the portal ready, and Cinderella tells her what had happened. Clorinda realizes Cinderella told her mother where she was, but before she can be helped, Lady Tremaine drags Clorinda into the land of untold stories with her. So Cinderella's happy ending wasn't quite as happy as she thought it'd be, but it gets worse. She still marries the prince, but Rumpelstiltskin shows up. Remember the deal she made? The price for changing her life is her firstborn child. Discovering that she is pregnant, she tries to run away, but the prince catches her, and so she tells him about the deal she had made with Rumpel. The prince believes that they can set a trap by making a new deal and asks for the help of Snow White and Prince Charming, who make a special prison to suppress his magic. Cinderella manages to trick Rumpel by having him sign in squid ink, which paralyzes him. Hence, Rumpel is finally imprisoned. However, when Cinderella is in labour, the prince disappears. Knowing Rumpel might have something to do with this, she confronts him in his cell. He says by breaking their original deal, the price is her prince. So now, instead of the prince in search for the girl in the glass slippers, it is now Cinderella to find her Prince Charming.